So I'm going to record today's lesson and I will get going and kind of show you everyone where things are. Oops. So
your screen is frozen on my side.
Is it frozen for anyone else?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just give it a second, Jess. It should come up. And then if it doesn't, like I said, I'm recording it, so you can always go back and watch it again. I'll have that up by the end of the hour. All right, so just in Schoology, we're in week 8. We're starting the executive branch. Monday, I just put do the test. So that's not like an extra assignment. That was just do your test. Today, we're doing presidential power and roles. Tomorrow, we're looking more in depth at the roles. I put the organizer here outside of any of the days so that you can get to it. And then after this week, I will put that organizer will go back on that front page so you can always get to it for this unit. And I'm not done with Thursday yet, so I'm still working on Thursday. I'm going to start, I started because I saw another teacher doing this and I thought it was a really good idea. Put the numbers of what you need to do each day. So number 1, the first thing is to read your chapter. Number 2, we're going to watch a video on the executive branch. It's just kind of an overview. And I don't have a number 3. Oh, that's interesting. Where did it go? I didn't. I just numbered it wrong. So number 3 is just the slideshow from today because a lot of information is on there. And then I'll make this number 4. There's an ed puzzle for today to do. And it just explains that it's like an overview of the executive branch. So it's not bookwork. It's not necessarily stuff we're covering in the book today, but the ed puzzle is just this really nice overview that will help you guys understand the executive branch as a whole. So then each day I'll put these up here in order. So 1, read whatever you're supposed to read. 2, if there's a video or something to watch, I'll have that in there. I'll include the slideshow, and then if there's an assignment, that'll all be in there in order. So hopefully that makes things even easier for you guys to understand and know what's supposed to be done every day. Okay, so today I have the slideshow open here. I will put that in present mode. All right, so we're starting the executive branch and presidential power. So if you guys have any questions, stop me as we go. Then I have the week laid out for you guys. Oh, these things are going to be annoying. I wonder. No, it's not going to let me do that. Anyway, so in the slideshow, if you guys want to, an easy way to get through things is to go to the slideshow. And I'll have this on the slideshow for every day is what to do each day of the week. So today we're watching a video in class. We'll watch that actually pretty soon. And then your assignment for today is to do the ed puzzle. On Wednesday, there'll be some reading. And then you're just going to start the organizer for the class. And I will show you actually what that looks like. So nope, that's not it. So this is the executive branch organizer. So like I said, I have chapters 9 and 10 done. Once again, the information on here is what's most important. So you can use this as you're reading to go through and, take the notes that you need to take. And there's a lot of stuff in the chapters that maybe you don't need to read. So I will have this organizer done by the end of today. But if you want to go and grab it, and start working on it, you can. Just make sure you save a copy for yourself and know that chapter 11 is coming. Okay, back to the slideshow here. So what is the executive branch? I'm going to show a video on the executive branch just because I think it's a good way to introduce things. It's going to make things a little easier for you. And it's only 3 minutes long. So, and now my screen is frozen. What is happening?
There are three branches of government in the U.S. legislative, executive, and judicial. I don't see the video.
Okay, you don't see the video. Okay, hold on. Thank you for saying that. Okay, hold on. No, stop. Stop, video. All right, what is happening? It should. Okay, let me try it again, and you guys holler if you can see it or not.
Three branches of government in the U.S. legislative, executive, and judicial.
Can you see it?
No.
You still can't see it. Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay. Now you should be able to see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. I think it has something to do because I have Screencastify on, which is, there we go.
US, legislative, executive, and judicial. The president has the executive branch and has unique powers, including executive orders, vetoes, appointing federal judges, and appointing the heads of federal agencies, also known as the president's cabinet. He also acts as the commander-in-chief of the military. The cabinet, itself part of the executive branch, also acts as an advisory board to the president, with the chief executive of each agency, mostly known as the secretary of their department. But the president doesn't have absolute power to make these appointments. The Senate must vote to confirm the president's appointees, one example of the checks and balances at work. Cabinet members also make up part of the presidential line of succession in the event that the current president becomes incapacitated, resigns, dies, or is removed from office. First in line is the vice president, then the Speaker of the House, and then the Senate President pro tempore. After that, we start down the line of cabinet members. The president also appoints the heads of more than 50 independent federal commissions, as well as ambassadors and federal judges. Of course, those nominees need to be confirmed by the Senate as well, check and balance. But the president also checks Congress. When Congress enacts bills, the president either signs the legislation into law or rejects it through a veto. The president also has the power to pardon and grant clemencies for federal crimes, except in cases of impeachment on both the state and federal level. In the global sphere, the president serves as the nation's representative. He can negotiate and sign treaties with the United Nations, but it only becomes ratified with the support of 2/3 of the Senate. The president also has the power to issue executive orders, which allows him to direct the actions of members of the executive branch without it having to be approved by Congress. But while Congress has no say when it comes to executive orders, the judicial branch, in the form of the Supreme Court, does have the power to overturn an executive order. But considering how much power the president is given, the eligibility requirements for the office of the presidency aren't very strict. The Constitution lists only 3 requirements. The president must be 35 years of age, a natural-born citizen, and must have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. Presidents are limited to 2 4-year terms, as stipulated by the 22nd Amendment, ratified in 1951. Before that, 2 terms was traditionally the limit until President Franklin Delano Roosevelt served 4. In the U.S., we elect a new president every 4 years through a system called the Electoral College. This means when we go to the polls to vote for president, we actually vote for electors who will cast their vote on our behalf. While all of these rules or stipulations may sometimes befuddle us, they reflect how important maintaining a balance of power was to our founding fathers. So while the president's power has expanded As the United States has grown as a force on the world stage, the judicial and legislative branches still keep the leader of the free world in check.
Okay. Okay, so that video, super nice overview of the whole unit. So if you guys want to go back to that, you can, the little videos here. It's also in Week at a Glance, and I can put it in today in Schoology also, just so you guys can access it, because it's a really nice overview of what we'll be covering. But today we're going to start with the powers of Congress. I would make this bigger, but then it's cutting off part of the screen when I do that. So I'm just going to leave this small. This is something that would be great if I could have some share outs from kids in the class. This is just like that little intro information that we sometimes get before we start going into the different details. So when you're thinking about the role and the power of the president, we'll look at 4 different scenarios here. Just let me know if you think the president should be able to do what it's saying, or they shouldn't be able to do. So for example, a group of rebels of a foreign country overthrow its president and surround the American embassy. The U.S. president declares war on the rebel government. Does the president have the power to do that? What do you guys think?
Oh, no.
You're right. He does not have the power to declare war. That power is reserved for Congress. He does, however, have the power to send American troops there, but he would need to inform Congress, and then Congress would have time to act on that. Okay, good. The next one. The president has nominated a new federal judge, but the Senate has yet approved the appointment. It seems unlikely that the Senate will vote to confirm the new judge. When the Senate goes on a holiday break, the president appoints the judge without the Senate's approval. Can the president do that?
No.
Good. Once again, hi, Tristan. Once again, the president cannot do that. He certainly can appoint judges, and right now we have a Supreme Court judge, the highest court in the land. Amy Coney Barrett has been selected by President Trump to serve on the Supreme Court, and the Senate is trying to push through her nomination so she is confirmed before the election. He has every right to do that. It hasn't been done before during an election year, but he has every right to do that as president. Senate gets the final say in if that judge will be approved or not. Okay, C, the president meets the leader of a foreign nation. Together, the 2 leaders agree to not charge tariffs or taxes on imports on each other's cars and trucks. Is the president allowed to do that? Just somebody take a guess.
No.
Okay, actually, yes. And I know it was just a guess, so no worry. Thank you for guessing. He can certainly get together with foreign leaders, and they can make agreements. And it's not a formal agreement. A formal agreement would be a treaty, and a treaty would have to be approved by the Senate or by Congress. But they can meet with foreign leaders and just say, hey, we're not gonna charge taxes on this coming in if you don't charge taxes on that coming in. So those informal agreements are allowed. All right, D, Congress passes a law that bans possession of certain drugs. The president instructs the Drug Enforcement Agency to focus their enforcement efforts on suspects who appear to be selling large amounts of the illegal drugs and not worry much about people who are caught with small amounts. Can the president do that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the president is in charge of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, as well as many other agencies. He's not saying that those drugs aren't illegal. He's just saying that the DEA should focus their efforts on basically the bigger fish in the sea instead of those individuals on the streets that might be carrying them. Now, he can't supersede local law enforcement. So if Monroe passes, its own law, not law, but if they want to go hard on drugs, they have the right to do that. But when you're looking at a drug enforcement agency, which is a big agency, and the president saying go after the big fish, that's okay. That's allowed for him to do. Okay, good. All right. So what are the constitutional powers of the president? Basically, the founders of our nation wanted a strong executive. They did want it to have checks because they didn't want them to become a king. But they also wanted a strong executive branch that could keep our legislative branch in check. So they, in the Constitution, identified some key presidential powers, and we're gonna get to that right here, and then on the next slide too. So the constitutional powers that Article 2 of the Constitution gives our president, and I'll just bring this up just so you guys can see it, is that the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States, meaning that he is the head of the executive branch. The President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States. Remember, there was no Air Force at that time and no Marines at that time. He shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment, meaning that he can pardon people that have committed a crime unless they were impeached, because the impeachment would go through Congress, not through the president. He shall, from time to time, give to the Congress information of the State of the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. So if you guys remember the necessary and proper clause, this is kind of the president's necessary and proper, that he shall consider measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay. So, just like our Congress has some very specific things that are written out in the Constitution, we also have that necessary and proper clause written in for Congress that says that Congress should do everything necessary and proper to run our country. We also have that for our president. And also, some powers are inherent to a presidency, to the leader of a nation. So I'll read this. As the leader of the nation, a sovereign nation, our president has inherent powers. So those are things not in the Constitution, but they've been claimed by presidents. Theodore Roosevelt was a very strong leader, a very strong person. He said, I have used every ounce of power there was in the office and have not cared a rap for the criticisms of those who spoke of the usurpation of power. I believe that the efficiency of this government depends on its possessing a strong central executive. So Roosevelt expanded the powers of the president, just like many presidents did before him. Lincoln did during the Civil War, and Jefferson did, way back to our founding fathers. So presidents along the way have given shows of power, and as long as it's not forbidden, it's generally been accepted. And that's just this little saying here. Presidents have used their power to enlarge their scope of authority. Okay, so what are some of the reasons the president would use their inherent powers? And there are things like the nation has immediate needs. So during the Great Depression, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt took over, our country was in desperate need of help. Unemployment was over 40%. There was no food. So our president created the New Deal and convinced Congress to sign it into law. And the New Deal created some things that we know about today, like Social Security and what was called welfare at the time, to help people basically survive. A more imminent thing, or something that's more current, where the president might send aid, would be the forest fires in California. When all those fires were occurring, the president had within his rights to send people, to send troops, to send money to help fight those forest fires. So that would be something that would be, I guess, a little bit more current. You guys probably don't even know necessarily, but northern Wisconsin was hit by basically hurricane force winds was that last summer? It was either last summer or 2 summers ago. I was actually up north visiting my mom, and we got there right before it happened, and it obliterated. It just knocked down trees, caused damage to houses. So actually the president sent aid to northern Wisconsin just last year to help with that. So that's something that the president can do. Executive privilege. The president has the right to withhold from Congress and the Supreme Court information between themselves and their advisors. Basically what that's saying is what the president says in closed chambers with his cabinet members, his advisors, does not have to be reported to Congress or the Supreme Court. So it's kind of like if you're married, you don't have to testify against your spouse. It's kind of like that at a little bit lower level, that they have the right to not discuss what happens behind closed doors. And then the last one is popular opinion. Presidents along the way have claimed that because they're representing the people, that they can create mandates because the people authorize the act, we, the voters. Because that they voted for that president, they have the right to make some mandates. This can be fought in court, but it has been used over the years for the president to put different policies into place. Remember, the president can't make laws. He can create executive orders, which are kind of like a law, but those orders, I don't know if you caught it in the video, they can be shot down by the Supreme Court, saying that, nope, that's not constitutional. You can't make that order. And that happened with President Trump most recently when he tried to do some things with immigration when he first took office. And he said people from certain countries couldn't come to America. And basically it didn't even make it to the Supreme Court. The lower court said, no, you're actually discriminating against specific groups. You can't do that. It has to be kind of an all or none. So if you're going to say there's no immigration, then there's no immigration. So that initial executive order was shot down. Okay. Checks and balances. Some of these were also mentioned in the video, and there are more than are here on this slide, but these are just the ones that are mentioned in your book. Impeachment, you guys have heard of that. The House can impeach the president, and we had talked about that, I think, just last week or 2 weeks ago, which President Trump was impeached by the House. But the Senate has the right to remove a president from office. So it has to go through both houses of Congress, and the Senate chose not to remove the president from office. So he stays as president. Another check, the president can veto legislation coming from Congress. And when we talked about how a bill becomes law, we talked about that. Congress can override that veto with a 2/3 vote in both the houses. So there's checks and balances there. And there's more, and we'll talk about them as this unit goes on. And then finally, this is just an introduction to what we'll be talking about tomorrow. There's many different roles that the president plays. This is just a quick overview of what those roles are, and then we'll get to these in depth tomorrow. So I'm not going to spend time on them, but you can read them, and this is actually on that review sheet. And the book lays it out a little bit better, but it's there if you want to take a look at it. And yeah, and it's just a lead into tomorrow. So that being said, I am going to stop screen sharing. And then you guys can see me.